Life after life. While at his grandmother's house and eating her cooking, Jan thanked her.
I remember my childhood again, when I ate all this at your place.
It's time for you to meet your relatives from your previous life. They have not yet incarnated and are waiting for you.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I really want to see them. But why didn't they meet me right away?
First of all, they live in a different area, in the tundra. They are people of the north and are used to the cold and snow. We don't have seasons here, and in one area it's always summer, in another it's always spring. In the third it's always autumn, and in the fourth it's always winter. And people live wherever they want, or travel depending on the mood. Today they may be in the springtime area, and tomorrow in the cloudy, rainy autumn, or in the sunny, warm area where Indian summer is.
Oh, how unusual. You have it all.
Yes, because here the Earth does not orbit the sun, and everything is created by the desire of people, animals, nature spirits, plants. It all depends on what you want to create in your imagination and manifest in this way. And secondly, the relatives didn't want to shock you right away while you were still getting used to the world.
What do they shock me with?
Now you'll see. Tune into me. And let's fly.
Jan imagined his grandfather's face before his inner eyes, and they moved into an area that looked like the northern taiga, turning to tundra. They ended up in front of small huts and went into one of them. There were a few people sitting there, dressed in clothes made of deer skins, and very different from modern people.
Oh, it's our mother. Do you remember how we used to live with you?
Jan was taken aback by her statement. But in his mind, the pictures that had struck him suddenly began to surface, of him being a woman and taking care of his children. That was them sitting at the table at the moment. He was even more confused when he recognized his ex-husband as the stern man with the black mustache. His perception was double, with him being a man on the one hand and a woman on the other. The shock made him sink to the floor at the door, not knowing whether to react the new way or the old way. The memories of their former life flashed through his mind. How they lived in the taiga, and how the husband died after being attacked by a bear on the hunt. And how they all met again in the world of the dead. How happily ever after, until he became incarnate. At the same time, there was a war going on in Jan's mind. There was no way he could accept being a woman. He could not imagine how as a wife and mother, his relationships with his loved ones could continue now.
Don't worry, dear wife, or you might go crazy with split personality. Live in your new form. The old one is gone. Soon, we will be incarnated too, and it is not known in what world and on what planet we will live, and who we will be. Maybe intelligent insects, or maybe spirits, or some other creatures. There is no need to worry about the past. You should go now, so that you don't have to worry and get used to the world. And when everything is settled in your mind, come again. Yeah, I'd have to process all that. Well, shall we go back to Grandma's?
Overwhelmed by what had happened, Jan sat at his grandmother's and didn't want to eat or drink, all the while wondering how he was a woman.
Well, grandson, you on Earth have formed many patterns that narrow our thinking. And here, they break down, and there is an expansion of consciousness.
Here, my so-called husband said that there are intelligent insects. Is this true?
Yes, of course, and your brother from a previous life now incarnated in their world. Tune into me, and let's go see how they live.
So he did, and they were transported to a planet of intelligent insects. Jan saw huge pyramidal houses, somewhat like termite mounds, and all kinds of insects scurrying around between them. They were all extremely big. Both he and his grandfather flew up to an ant of the same size. As he looked closely at the ant, Jan began to remember scenes from his previous life, where the creature had been his brother, and he felt a sense of kinship toward it. He noticed them too, and since the insects could communicate telepathically and see the subtle plane, they began to communicate.
Verk, is that you? Yes, Oma, I'm the one who lives here now, and you, I see, were human in this life after incarnation. How quickly you died. Yes, I became human again. But I killed myself, and now I'm back in the ethereal world. And how do you live in your world, brother? Pretty good. Getting a new experience of insect life on this planet. We are more spiritually evolved than humans on Earth. Therefore, we live a better life, in love and harmony. Previously, different species of insects feuded and destroyed each other. But after God sent his incarnations to us on the planet, the avatars of each species of insects, and they began to help us develop spiritually, then peace and prosperity came. And now, we communicate telepathically, and I can see you and the subtle world. And while our hearts were closed by selfishness and ignorance, we were just like people on Earth. Do creatures evolve while they are insects as well? Of course. Plants, animals, insects, spirits, inorganic beings, all go the way of evolution. They are just different parts of it, in which they get the missing impressions for their evolution. After all, perfection is an infinite experience. Even crystals evolve from simple cobblestones to stones such as Chintamani. They also are alive. Did God incarnate in the form of bedbugs and cockroaches as flies? Yes, Sister Oma, the form does not matter. The soul can incarnate in any being, and so can God. It is the level of evolution of the soul itself that matters, not its body. But I heard somewhere that only in human form can there be evolution, that we should appreciate that we were incarnated as humans and not as beasts or, say, plants. This is a ploy of religious teachings to make a human being more appreciative of the possibility of evolution. But it is forgivable, for without intimidation and the promise of paradise, it is impossible to make an ignorant person think about perfection. They have only the fear of punishment and the thirst to gain something. Therefore, in many of the teachings spread among the barbarians, there are many such tricks. But it cannot be otherwise, because the barbarian can perceive the truth only mixed up with a lie. In its pure form, they are incapable of understanding it. And the more ignorant the people, the more tales the prophets have to make up in order to call them to spirituality, or at least to a more harmonious and reasonable existence with each other. I never thought insects could be this big. The size also gives a certain amount of experience. There was a time when dwarfs and giants lived on Earth too. There were dinosaurs. They belonged to a branch of the lizards, which also evolved. And they had to be so big to get a certain experience. And now, only the little ones live. God sees who needs to experience and endure what for his evolution, and gives the creature the conditions, the form, and the dimensions that are best suited for that purpose. Also, religions and different teachings exist for the same purpose. Some are quite primitive, for barbarians, and some are more developed for more cultured beings. Some teachings, like Buddhism on Earth, even deny the creator God and the existence of a soul. This had to be done because people began to misperceive God and the existence of their souls. And in order to give them a new impetus for development, such an unusual religious doctrine without God or souls arose. What is the most faithful religion then? There is no right religion, but a religion more suited to each person. If an ignorant person is given a religion that is too advanced and exalted, this person will not be able to understand it. One needs a religion appropriate to one's level and type. Then it will help their soul to evolve. And how is it that you came to live in love and friendship with each other? and stop destroying and devouring each other. Manifestations, the avatars of God, explain to us that any division into races, nations, traditions, and ideologies is evil. Even if creatures are divided into families, clans, and tribes, and we have different hives, anthills, and termite mounds, there is strife from which all suffer. When boundaries are erased, there are no opposing ideologies, traditions, governments, countries. There is peace and harmony. Any division, opposition, leads to enmity. There can only be holy people who teach to love one another and their disciples. That is, the spiritual hierarchy, but not formal as in all churches and religions, but real, when a person who is more spiritual is higher. A person who more helps everyone around them to develop and live in harmony.
After talking with his brother for a while, Jan and his grandfather went back to his grandmother's house, and once again they were at the table.
I envy people like Verk. I look back on my life before I died, and I say to myself, here, this was your life. But why you lived it, I don't know. I kept thinking something would happen tomorrow, big and good, and I was just getting ready for it. But nothing happened, except old age and illness. And how could it happen if I didn't have a big goal, a real, great meaning of life? And then, most of all, I regretted not believing in God, not going to Him. But it was too late. I was dying, and if it were not for the continuation of life in the subtle plane, then, in general, it is unclear why and for what I lived my life.
Jan thought about it and remembered his life on Earth too, and sighed heavily.
Yes.
For neither did he have a great purpose nor meaning in this life. The cartoon is based on the book Life After Life. Read Life After Life on the website amazon1.org/books. Receive more interesting practices, spiritual knowledge, and gifts on the websites of our partners. You will find details in the description.